Hey everyone, this is Pete. I've always associated the Sega Mega Drive platform with arcade-style experiences, including driving games, but browsing the excellent online resource Sega Retro recently, I discovered that the platform was supposedly not particularly well known for its races. That's not to say there weren't any excellent racing games on the platform, but rather that there simply weren't that many in total. So today I'm going to pick out 5 favourites from the mix. As always, this is more a list of 5 of my personal favourites than 5 of the definitively best games on the platform, but with such a relatively small selection anyway, there's bound to be a touch of crossover. And as always, if you have any of your own favourite Mega Drive races not covered today, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Alright, let's get started. Arguably better known in its home computer incarnations, Gremlin's Lotus Turbo Challenge is a solid racer for Mega Drive that is worth having in your collection. Rather confusingly, the game called Lotus Turbo Challenge on Mega Drive is actually a port of Lotus Turbo Challenge 2, while the game called Lotus 2 on Mega Drive is a port of Lotus 3. Both games have their charms, and Lotus 2 arguably offers greater longevity with its track generator and different race formats, but something keeps me coming back to the first Mega Drive Lotus. Perhaps it's the traditional arcade-style timers and checkpoints format. Perhaps it's the variety of conditions in which you race. Perhaps it's the interesting lengthy point-to-point courses. Perhaps it's the simple speed and slickness. Or perhaps it's the way that when your car goes fast enough on some stages, it sounds like it's entering hyperspace.
Checkpoint!
Whatever the exact reason might be, I do know that Lotus Turbo Challenge is definitely one of my all-time favourite Mega Drive races. I never really spent much time with Super Hang-On back in the day, always believing the Hang-On series to be the Sega racing franchise that wasn't quite as interesting or exciting as Outrun. Revisiting Super Hang-On on Mega Drive recently though, I can say with confidence that I was absolutely wrong to dismiss this game, as it's absolutely wonderful. Offering 2 very different ways to play, Super Hang-On has a lot more longevity than some other arcade races of its type. In the arcade mode, there are 4 different point-to-point courses of increasing length and complexity to challenge, and believe me, you won't master any of them quickly. And in the original mode, you start out with a bike that handles and performs worse than the Rover Metro I learned to drive in, and gradually upgrade it as you take on a series of rivals. Despite being a fairly early Mega Drive game, Super Hang-On has aged beautifully, with solid gameplay, distinctive handling, and a ton of hidden depth. Highly recommended. While I am saddened that the sequel to the excellent Super Monaco GP no longer features digitised Playboy models in hand-drawn swimsuits, and Senna in his prime just doesn't really do it for me in the same way, I have to say, it's hard to deny that Super Monaco GP 2 is a significant improvement over its predecessor in several ways. With a more varied arcade mode, a more in-depth championship mode, and a generally improved look and feel to the whole experience, it's a very solid addition to the Mega Drive's racing game library, striking a great balance between arcadey accessibility and more realistic elements to create a title with plenty of universal and lasting appeal. Plus, if I ever do find myself pining for the lovely Mercy Rooney and Claire Rambo, the original is still there to enjoy, and still a great game in its own right. Part of a curious and fairly short-lived trend for home-exclusive sequels to arcade titles, Outrun 2019 is a solid addition to the Mega Drive's library of racing games, despite initially appearing to have relatively little to do with its illustrious predecessor. Swapping classic Sega Blue Skies for a futuristic cityscape, Outrun 2019 is a high-speed challenge that features some innovative additions to the standard horizon-chasing Vanishing Point racer formula, such as elevated sections of track providing a greater sense of the action unfolding in true 3D. There are still some classic Outrun elements along the way too. Each stage offers a choice of routes, for example, allowing you to discover alternative paths to your goal, some of which are notably quicker than others. There are even some secret shortcuts you can find along the way, which are relatively unusual to see in racing games of the period. While rarely talked about today, Outrun 2019 is definitely a worthy addition to any library of Mega Drive racing games, and well worth taking some time to explore. We've saved arguably the best for last. Here we have Domarks F1, a Mega Drive game based on the incredible Vroom by Lancor for Atari ST. Like Vroom, F1 uses an engine that makes use of both sprites and polygons, and which updates at an astonishingly smooth frame rate for a game of the era without any specialist add-on hardware. It even features smooth sprite scaling, something which the Mega Drive was unable to achieve in hardware, making it a standout title purely from a technical proficiency perspective. But it plays great too. F1 offers an arcade mode, in which the aim is to overtake as many cars as possible and score points, and a championship mode that makes use of a more conventional simulation style structure. There are multiple difficulty modes that affect not only the challenge factor of your opponents, but also how much punishment your car can take and the overall speed of the experience. F1 is a spectacular game for Mega Drive that still holds up incredibly well to this day. If you only add one Mega Drive racer to your collection, this is the one to grab. And so there you have it, 5 of the best racing games on Mega Drive. While later console generations may have brought the genre into full 3D and helped make newer racers feel more realistic and thrilling, there's still a definite appeal to the horizon-chasing gameplay of these classic 16-bit titles. Like so many other games from the period, they're less about attempting to recreate reality and more about simply providing a fun, enjoyable, escapist experience with which to while away an hour or two. And in that regard, these games still succeed admirably in what they set out to achieve. And so on that note, it just remains for me to say, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.